Okay. Thank you all for joining Vedic Psychology Class 5. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So today, here's our outline. That is a cat holding a dead mouse, in case you can't make it out in the picture. So we're following along with the cat theme from the last class. Can you guys see it okay? You don't see it? Okay. Okay, look at the cat's face. You see how he's like, I didn't do anything wrong. So he probably doesn't have any empathy, or she. So today we're going to go over first a sattvic second. Then I'm going to review a few of the main points from last time. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about the power of storytelling. And then we're going to do that group exercise and discussion that I promised. And then I'll open it up for questions. So sattvic second. So just take a minute to get clear. Why are you here? What are you trying to get out of the next hour? What brings you here on a Saturday night? Try to get very clear on something specific you're going to try to get out of this class. Okay. So I revised it a little bit. Before we were saying the purpose of Vedic psychology, why you're here, is to learn about yourself, and that's true. I'm sure you guys have been learning about yourselves, but the part I'm adding is, and to also change yourself. So you can learn, right, and you can just fill up here, but we also have to implement changes, you know, and sometimes that seems obvious, but it gets missed. Okay, so learn and then implement and then change in order to clear out anything that is blocking your mind from advancing spiritually. So here's a review of the main points from last week. Empathy was the main thing we were talking about, right? And there's 3 types. Cognitive, which is the ability to understand intellectually others' feelings. And remember I was talking about like couples therapy, you know, where they're fighting and I'm like, hold on, try to hear each other. So oftentimes if the couple's doing very well, they can get to compassionate empathy, but that's very rare. Usually what happens is they can do the cognitive piece, which is I hear you, I understand you, but their heart is like, you know, they're pissed, right? They're like, I hear you, I can see that, but listen to me, you know? So the compassionate empathy would be like, I hear you, and the effective empathy is, oh my God, I feel you. I had no idea that made you feel so inadequate, insecure, or sad, or depressed, or angry, whatever the feeling was. You actually feel it. That's the effective. And then the compassionate empathy is the combination of those two. So in those rare moments when I'm doing a couples session and I see that the other partner starts crying, then we got a home run. We hit the jackpot. That is so rare, you know. And then they say, sorry, I just have to apologize. I understand now what I did to you. You know, that's what we're going for, this compassionate empathy. But we can start with cognitive empathy. You know, we're just working at that level. And then we can try to move to effective, and then eventually we can combine those for this compassionate empathy. So empathy in the mind states. Remember we talked about how empathy is in sattva and rajas and tamas. So in the tamasic type of empathy, you don't have any. There's no empathy. Why? Because you don't even know your own mind. So how are you going to know somebody else's? You don't know, you don't really know your feelings, you're confused. You don't know your thoughts, you're confused. You think you know, but you don't. You know, and then you can't feel someone else's heart or know someone else's heart. It's all about you. You know, so that's tamasic empathy. And that's no empathy. So the cognitive type of empathy, which is that first type on the other slide, that's the rajasic empathy, right? That I can understand your mind, I can understand you, I can kind of get in your shoes, I can understand you, but when you're suffering, it doesn't make me feel bad. But I understand you. So this can be dangerous because if you are good at the cognitive empathy, you can make decisions based on knowing the person's kind of like weak spots, how to press their nerve and how to upset them. But it doesn't upset you. When you see somebody else suffering, it doesn't upset you because you're not really feeling anything. And if you don't like them, you actually feel happy when you hurt them, when you do something to make them look bad or suffer. So you can be very manipulative if you only have high cognitive empathy and not very high compassionate empathy. So the compassionate empathy is that combination of cognitive empathy and the affective, right? The feeling part. And that's the sattvic empathy. I understand you, but I also don't want to hurt you. I want to make you feel happy and peaceful and grounded and successful, whatever the thing is. So that's a harder one to have, but that's the goal, to have this compassionate empathy when we do our seva, right? so we don't hurt anybody else around us, and we lift everybody else up. So this was the last thing. Oh, sometimes when I convert my slides from this Canva that I use to PowerPoint, it does weird formatting things, so sorry about that. But so we were talking last time about empathy epidemic, right? That there's this something called empathy deficiency disorder, and that's when the affective empathy, that I feel for you, that's missing or lacking or very little, very little. So when you have this empathy deficiency disorder, you might be pretty good at the cognitive, I understand you, but you struggle to maintain or even create personal connections because you don't feel for them. You know, at the beginning you might be able to trick them, saying, oh yeah, I understand you, and that you can even finish their sentence, but only through an understanding level. You know, you can kind of like read their mind, but then when it comes to a heart level, you'll do something, maybe not purposely, but to hurt them because you're not connected to their heart. And also, if you have low cognitive empathy and you have this empathy deficiency disorder, low affective empathy, low emotional empathy, you can be very judgmental of others because you're not feeling. You know, so you're just like, how could they be like that? Because you're not feeling it, you're just critically analyzing them, you know? And you're not really able to understand what they're going through feeling-wise, so you underestimate what it took for them, for example, to show up here today, right? We all have our story of what kind of crazy day we might have had to be able to make it here, you know? But we might not all be able to hold the space for each other we would, you know, or if somebody's coming late, just say. We don't really know why they're late. They could have had something very stressful happen to them before they came here. But instead we're like, oh, why are they late? I hate it when they make the sound with the door. They should be on time. You know, so that's not really a very high empathy. You know, that's not really giving them kind of the benefit of the doubt and having some compassion for that person. And then we also usually don't show appreciation or gratitude if you're low in empathy. Okay, this is the last kind of review slide from the last class, is that the origin of empathy. Remember, we were saying it comes from our childhood relationship with our mother, right? And her ability to attune to our emotions. That was that attunement video I showed at the end, right? Our emotional needs, even our physical needs. And then the mother's role in validating our feelings and protecting us also is part of empathy. Remember I was talking about from an angry father? The mother has to stand up. She has to stand up if the father's being angry, verbally, physically, or emotionally abusive. And these are crucial ingredients in creating an empathetic adult. Even the first few months of life, you know, but definitely the first few years. So now I'm going to go into this week's lecture about the power of storytelling. The most exceptional teachers of the Indian culture have used storytelling as a way to teach. That's Babaji when he was younger with a book. And here's his Bhagavad Gita book. So Babaji said that storytelling is a brilliant way to get the message across to someone without bruising their ego. For no one likes it when our mistake, character flaw, inadequacy, or stupidity is pointed out directly. There's Babaji again. He said that from my very childhood, I've been fascinated by the Indian scriptural stories in which I learned about great personalities that captivated and inspired me. As an adult, I realized that these stories that were packed with precious gems about the psychology of the human mind were not just for Indians. Quite the contrary. In fact, the deep lessons in these stories have the power to help every human being master their mind. So the most skillful teachers teach by telling stories, this is also a quote from Babaji, about other people or animals like the Hitopadesh who have the same problem as us. The idea is that the student is qualified enough to understand the lesson and apply it to themselves. And the most intelligent students do just that. That is how people transform their character. Okay? So the story's being told, but we have to be qualified to actually get it and be like, is that about a tiger or is that about me? Or a snake or me, right? And so you have to be able to get that lesson and say and apply it to yourself. So the most skillful students, right? We talked about the most skillful teacher. The most skillful students, who are the most qualified students to do this? A student that is high in compassionate empathy. Why? Because a student who's high in compassion and empathy can both understand, right, the character that you're being described and feel it. You feel it when you're hearing it. And it's the feeling in the heart that impels you to actually motivate to change. If you don't feel it and you're just hearing it, then you're just filling up with thoughts, more and more thoughts in your head. And that inspires you to collect more information and to use it to maybe analyze the character. You want to ask all these questions about the snake or about the tiger more and more. How long were its nails? How long of a high, all these kind of irrelevant questions because you're not feeling anything in your heart. You're just in your head. So you're asking like irrelevant questions or like, what's the point of that question? How does it have to do with you and you changing, And so then if you don't do that, then sometimes you use it to analyze other people. Totally the tiger, she's totally the tiger. I see it, oh yeah, she's the tiger, And so we're really good because of our hankara at not seeing, ourselves. And so this compassion and empathy is a very important piece to learn how to have, basically, to practice having this. So we can understand what Babaji's teaching us, we can understand ourselves, and then we can actually make the changes we need to make. So a little bit more on empathy. Maybe some of you have heard of Carl Rogers. He wrote many books. He's the founder of humanistic psychology, and it's the approach that I use in my therapy. It's called client-centered, where you have this what's called like unconditional positive regard for the client. So no matter what they come and say, no matter what they do, you're always seeing the good side of them. You're always holding them up. So, and he uses a lot of empathy. That's what he talks about. So he says empathy is the listener's effort to hear the other person. Listen to the three ways. Deeply, which means heart, right? You're hearing their heart. Accurately, which means you're like saying, okay, so did you mean this or was it this? Was it that feeling or was it that feeling? Trying to be very clear on the picture. And that's a lot of attunement. It takes a lot of attunement to do that. You keep asking and making sure you're seeing them exactly as they're sharing, as they probably have been wanting to be seen their whole life, right? Because their mother didn't see them. And then non-judgmentally. You're not criticizing. You have no idea, especially as a therapist, who's going to come in the door and what story they have to tell you that day, And so the idea is whatever it is, it's part of their story and it's okay. So look at this person. This person's like, what? Huh? I didn't do anything. There's actually a name for somebody who has very low empathy and a lack of insight. It's a tongue twister. It's called anosognosia. Okay, anosognosia. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. I listened to a few times. How do you pronounce this thing? But I know the word, but it's hard to pronounce. But anyway, what it is somebody who doesn't have an insight into the fact that they have a mental illness. There's a name for that. I would call it like Thomas or Rajas, but still, there's actually a name for it. And it impairs a person's ability to understand and perceive his or her illness. So what they're doing is complaining about everybody else around, how they did this to me and they did that to me, but me, I have no problem. So and this also goes with empathy, because empathy means you have to feel something. But if you can't feel, then you don't know something's wrong with you. So in some cases, people with this condition will rationalize what's happening to them. It's because he did that. It's because she did that. It's because it rained today. It's because the monkey did that. It doesn't matter, but there's always some rationalization why this thing has happened. But it's never them. It's never the fact that they have a mental problem. And they may even try to cover up their symptoms. And this is the single largest reason why people refuse medications, why they don't even seek therapy, and why they don't take responsibility for their behavior. They're unempathetic and their hurtful behavior. And so, for me, sometimes I'll have a client who's seeing me, but they're like, I don't really have a problem. Do you think I have a problem? And I'm like, it's not my job to tell you if you have a problem. Why are you here? If you're here and you must have come to therapy for some reason. No, I heard Vedic psychology is cool. Just tell me, do I have a samskara? Or, do you see some scar that needs help? Or my husband made me come. Or, but if you don't think that there's anything wrong and you think everything's fine, then how am I going to tell you? All you'll do is just get defensive and tell me, no, that's not that. I don't see that, So this is somebody probably who has pretty low empathy and lack of insight, this anosognosia. Okay, so that's just a quick review because I want to get to the practical group discussion and the fun part. Okay, so we're going to do this group exercise and a discussion. I'm going to tell you a story, okay? And as you listen, I want you to practice your empathy skills. That's what we're going to do today, okay? So there's 3, by answering these 3 questions. So if you have a phone, or a pen and a paper, or a computer, if you want to write down your answers to the question, that'd be good, if you can. Okay? So the first thing is the cognitive empathy. Remember, that's what you think. Think of how it would be for you in the situation I'm going to share. How would you think about it? The next one is affective empathy, affective, which means your emotional empathy. How would you feel? What happens in your heart when you hear this story? Okay? And then the third one is the compassionate, which means if you're thinking something and you're feeling something, it's going to motivate you to do something. Okay? So when I think of compassionate empathy, I think of, now what are you going to do about it? You know, cognitive empathy, just thinking, you're most likely not going to do anything. That's the problem. You just think. And some people like have that analysis paralysis. You overanalyze, and that's what I'm saying. You ask all these questions, go on, and it's like, okay, stop. Just, so that's cognitive, you know. And then the affective empathy is how you feel. And there are some people who just feel too much, right? They're overly emotional. They're crying about everything, or they're getting angry about everything. It could be too much affective and not enough cognitive. We need both in a good balance to have that compassionate empathy, that you think something, you feel something, now I'm going to do something, okay? So do you guys understand the exercise? I'm going to read you a passage, and then you write down, like type up or write down what it is that you would be thinking for that person, what you'd be feeling, and what you would do, okay? Everybody settled? Have a writing utensil if you need it or whatever, or something to write? Kamala's getting hers. Everyone else good? Okay. Paper? Okay. So I'm going to share my personal story. This is from my book that just got published called Lessons Learned from My Guru the Hard Way. And I'm reading an excerpt from the book, from chapter 8, which is called Woe Is Me, Babaji Triggered My Painful Memory. Page 66, just in case if some of you have the book and you want to read the whole story. So a few days into this road trip, when we were in Iowa, my sister and I got into a fight. For those of you who don't know Iowa, we were in the middle of nowhere. We were sitting in the back seat of the car, and we were pulling each other's hair and yelling at each other. And as my dad was trying to concentrate on driving. If you see this picture here, that's how it looked. It's really the middle of nowhere. It's just like green, grassy roads and straight in cornfields. It's the middle of the US, you know? And we were fighting in the back of the car. And this was the same sister. I have 3 sisters. This was the same sister, the one I always fought with. The one who I thought had stolen my father's heart away from me. I hated her, and anything she did angered me. In this particular case, she had innocently fallen asleep on my shoulder, and I had got mad and pushed her off me. And that's when she woke up and we started fighting. Okay? Write down your answer to these questions. Cognitive empathy. What would you be thinking if you were in my situation? What would you be thinking if you were me in the situation? Remember the story? My sister and I got in a fight. We were in the middle of nowhere in the backseat of the car. We're pulling each other's hair, we're yelling. And my dad was trying to concentrate on driving. Okay, and this is a sister that I hated because I felt like she stole my father's heart away from me. Anything she did angered me. This time we were sitting next to each other and she fell asleep on my shoulder. And that was enough for me to pull her hair and say, "Oh, get off of me, I hate you." Okay? What would you be thinking if you were me? Okay, that's 1. 2, what would you be feeling if you were me in that specific situation? Feeling words are like words. Thinking is all your thoughts about it, but feeling words would be like angry. I would be feeling angry. The affective empathy is your heart, you know. Frustrated, annoyed. I'd be feeling annoyed. Okay, rageful, maybe rageful. So write your feelings for the second one. The first one is what your thought would be if you were me. And then the last step is, the third question is, what would you do if you were a loving and caring mother? Remember, we're talking about attunement. The way empathy comes is through your mother attuning to you as a child. So now what if you were a loving and caring mother and you walked into this situation and you see the 2 daughters fighting? What would you do to help me if you were the loving, caring mother? What would you do? It can be that you would say something probably, but you can also do something. What would you say or do? Okay? I'm just leaving the story up in case you need to look at it again. And then here's your 3 questions. What would you be thinking if you were me? What would you be feeling if you were me? And what would you do if you were the loving, caring mother to help me in this situation? Basically, how would you attune to me?
Your mother is big sister or?
I'm big. I was a big sister, and my sister was 2 years younger, but she was taller than me.
Okay.
It looks like everybody's still writing. Maybe another minute? A minute more to get down your thoughts, your feelings, and what you would do.
Yes, Joshua, can you please put it again one slide before?
Sure. Here, the story?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Okay, I'm going to open it up for discussion now. Before we start, before anybody says anything, I just want to say, please note that this class, like you know, is being recorded, okay? So what that means is this is being shared with the public for educational purposes. Why I'm saying that is, please do not share anything personal, all right? Because who knows who's going to hear it and how that might affect you. And this is kind of like a psychology class, and people tend to want to share personal things. In the future, I may hold some groups that are in private, and so you can share confidential things, but for this, I shared my personal things, and it's in my book anyway, so, but don't share your personal things. Just do the analysis and answer these questions, okay? To protect you guys, all right? So let's discuss, oh no, the formatting. Okay, so the first one, cognitive empathy. What would you be thinking if you were in my situation? Anybody who wants to share, just let me know. Anybody in this group, what would you be thinking? Okay, Krishna Das.
Yeah, I have some ideas of what could you feel. Maybe it's not like that.
What would you be thinking? What would you be thinking?
Yeah, if I will be.
Yeah, but you said feel.
Okay, yeah, but
What you'd be thinking?
If I will be you in your place, well, probably lost, like without a place in the family, like with any role, clear role to do, and that's something which is very important for me. Have been stolen.
Oh, okay. So you'd be thinking something important for me has been stolen. And what is it in the story that would make you think that?
Because in the story you was telling that you was feeling this because this new person is taking the attention of the father. So the attention that father is giving to you has been stolen by her. So
Good.
in that sense,
That's very
like,
subtle, actually. Good job. Good. Okay, so you'd be thinking, what was the words you used for that?
that someone important for me has been stolen.
Very good. Good job. Okay, Vilas, what would you be thinking?
I made it wrong. I have a feeling, but
Okay, we're going to feeling next. I'll just break it apart one at a time. Okay, yes, Narotam, what would you be thinking?
Not only does she steal my father's heart, but she also disrespects me and takes advantage of me to take a nap.
Yes.
What an impudent person she is!
What person?
What an impudent person she is!
Yes, you got it. Good cognitive empathy. You got in my shoes. Yes, Kamala. Take the mic. Take the mic.
I also have on my glasses.
Oh.
So why she has always to be the better one, and why she always take advantage of me and put me in a position where I have to suffer because of her.
Good job. Yes, you got in my shoes. Yeah, why does she always have to be the better one? Okay, anyone else? Cognitive empathy. What would you be thinking if you're in my situation?
Jessica, may I say?
Sorry, Badra, I didn't see you. Okay, sorry. Can you
Yes.
manage when they put the hands up?
Tanvi has raised.
No, I didn't break.
Okay,
my
so
hands.
Vilas is going to manage who you calling the people.
Tanvi.
Tanvi, Vilas said you can go, and then Badra, you put your hand up, and then you can go next.
Sorry, I didn't hear. I would think, like, I hate you. You always get all his attention, and I want his attention. He's never paying attention to me.
Very good. Very good, right? And you used the words, I hate you, because that's what I said in the story. Yeah, and you always get his attention. Very good job. Excellent. Okay. Yes, Badra. Badra? Okay.
Yes, I put the same as many of the ones I said, but I just wanted to say also, if it just could be me and Dad alone, I wish she wouldn't be here so I can have Dad's attention just for me.
Good. Very good. Another angle, but perfect. You did a great job getting in my shoes. Yes. Anyone else who want to share what you'd be thinking? What would you be thinking? Okay, so let's go to feeling. What would you be feeling? What's your affective empathy? How would you feel if you were in my situation and then? Feeling.
I will feel frustrated.
You got to use the mic. I think, and Vilas was going to go first because you had a feeling, right?
Yeah.
So the feeling I have is jealousy
Yes.
and hate.
Yeah, right? Very jealous of her. I mean, I hated her so much. All she did was fall asleep on my shoulder. That's like not a big deal, right? But I was so jealous and so hateful towards her that anything she did, basically even if she breathed, I just want to smash her. You know, I really hated her. So you got it, exactly. Those are the feelings, jealousy and hatred. Yeah, Kamala, you were going to say jealousy and hatred?
Yes, I say frustrations. I say a lot of frustration and a lot of comparison all the time, which is bothering me a lot.
Frustration
And comparison.
Comparison.
Comparing myself with her all the time.
Okay, is that a feeling or is that a thought?
No, it's a thought.
Okay, what's a feeling?
The feeling is a lot of frustration because
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah, very frustrated, right?
All the time. She's
Agitated. It's like I'm agitated because all the time she's like in my face, you know? And we're on a family vacation, can you imagine?
Occupying your mind all the time.
Huh?
Occupying your mind all
Yeah,
the time.
that's your analysis, but we're on feelings. I just want you guys to focus. This is a structured
And there is
exercise.
Frustration.
Feeling word. Okay. Narota?
I'm bloody irritated and would want her to understand her own behavior. I would like to punch her and make her pay the price of me being deprived of my father's love and attention. I would feel blood boiling inside and the steam coming out from my nose.
He said, I feel blood boiling inside. So the feeling would be angry, right? Irritated, you said. Irritated. And there's all the thoughts related to the feeling, right? But the feeling is, I feel so irritated. And here's what I want to do about it, which are my thoughts and my behavior, right? Good. Anyone else in the room? Yes. You take the mic. Share the mic, please. And then we've got a lineup of people. Vilas, you'll call through those people. Okay.
I would say
Oops.
that
Why is it doing that? 1 sec. Sorry. Okay, go ahead.
the feeling is injustice.
Okay.
This isn't fair.
Yeah.
And insecurity deeply.
Good. Very good.
Yeah.
This is unjust, right?
This is not
And-
fair.
Not fair. So what was unjust and not fair?
That the feeling is that the sister is getting the attention. Why am I not getting
Yeah.
the attention?
Yeah.
Where is it for me?
Yeah. Very good. Is it working or no? That mic is not working?
The mic, please press the button, otherwise people won't hear you. Now, yeah, now it's fine.
Okay. So this feeling of unjust and this is unfair because why is my sister getting all the attention and not me? Very good. You got it. Good job. Affective empathy. Yes, Vilas.
Okay, then we have Bhadra.
Okay.
She was first.
Yes, and I also wrote grief because somehow you felt that your father, you lost something, that the loving relationship you have with your father was lost.
Very
So
good.
He kind of abandonment. So
Yeah.
it's like kind of behind the anger was real pain.
Good job, Bhadra.
Grief.
That's a good analysis. That's right. The anger is covering a more like a sadness or grief, right? Yes. Good.
And Tanvi.
I think I would feel also very tense because if this situation said it's a small thing, you know, it's already causing a lot of pain. So that means there's already previous situations like this has been happening to you, which means I think I would feel very tense and then very angry and underneath like very sad actually because he's in the situation also not paying attention and nobody's there, like no caregiver who's like guiding you through in that moment.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah. It's very tense, and that's a good point you're picking up on. This is not the first time I'm feeling like that. It's my sister, and I have to be with her every day, and it's been building up, right? So it's very, very tense and very sad. Yeah. Excellent. Good job.
Vraja Vinodini.
I don't think the mic's not on. Is her mic off? Or?
Sorry, okay.
Okay.
Here we go. I would feel angry, but at the same time, I would feel very disappointed in myself because I would feel ashamed of how I behaved and sad, and I would think, now he's really going to favor my sister because I acted out.
Oh,
You know,
interesting.
it's just one more thing against me.
Okay, that's very interesting. So I have to be the perfect little girl to get my dad's love, you know, and now that I'm acting out, I'm really not going to get it. He's going to like her even more. That's a good insight.
Right.
Good. Okay.
Bhushanji.
Yeah, I would say that there is happiness and a feeling of superiority, because this is a person who is who's leaning on you for support, and not very strong, right? And this is the time to strike, and you have done it. You had your sister who leaned you for support. You kind of put her down at the moment when she was vulnerable, you showed her. So I would feel a sense of happiness and superiority, or ahankar, you showed her who you are.
I didn't feel that.
Okay.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe you would, but that I didn't feel that. Maybe somebody else would, but in this story, I didn't feel it. I felt mostly these other, you know, angry and sad and insecure, you know. Maybe if I really beat her, I would. But see, I didn't win. So maybe you're onto something, Bhushan. I just needed to, like, you know, actually successfully beat her. You have to wait to the next page of the story. Okay, anything else? Anyone else?
Ladili.
Okay.
I put that you would feel very hurt, enraged, and unimportant and insignificant.
Yes, very good, Ladili. Insignificance and a big one. Hurt, extremely hurt, and insignificant. You know, like I don't matter. You know, there's nothing I can do right. You know, good job, Ladili.
Then we have Prajakta.
Who?
I would feel that I am.
Can you turn your camera? Turn your camera on, please.
I'm sorry, I won't be, my camera is not working, but next time I'll make sure that I have my camera on.
Okay.
I'm really
Otherwise, we can't attune to you, you know? This whole class is about attunement. So we have to see you.
Yeah, next time I'll make sure that I have my camera
Okay.
on. Yeah, so I'll feel angry, hurt, and I'll feel unwanted. That
Yes.
Even, same as Ladli ji said, that feeling insignificant,
Yes.
unimportant. So those kind of feelings would be there.
Good job. Yes, unwanted is a good one, right? Yeah, that's a hard one, but a very good one. You got it. Thank you.
I think that I have two feelings that was like maybe not mentioned directly, but one is uncomfortable because you was traveling, you was in the middle of nowhere, and this girl is sleeping there, like like you're like so comfortable,
On my shoulder.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. That's a good one.
Yeah, and the other one is isolated, like this insignificant isolation, like so.
Yeah, that's a good one. Like nobody supported me. Nobody got me. I was just all by myself in the middle of Iowa, and my sister's on my shoulder. Good job. You did a great job. Thank you. Okay, so now how about this piece? Compassionate empathy. That's the hardest. Remember, what would you do? What would you do if you just like teleported yourself right into that situation and you're the loving mother and you see your two daughters who you love very much fighting, pulling the hair, yelling at each other, and you know their dynamic. You know the older one is jealous, you know the father favors the younger one, you know the whole thing. But what would you do for me in this situation? If you're the loving, caring mother, what would you do to help me? You see what I mean? This is hard. You have to think. You have to think from your, in my shoes, and also the empathy piece. Anybody in the group want to? Okay, let's let one of the mamas share. What would this mama do? I forgot your name again. Rati. Okay, what would Rati do?
I do know this situation quite well.
Is it working? Is the mic working?
It's on. It's got the light on. Is that on?
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead, Rati.
I would simply just ask, are you okay?
Okay.
That's often what I do in that situation.
While the fight was going on and they're pulling the hair, you would walk
first you have to diffuse that part of it. That's
so tell us what you do to diffuse it.
I'm in the back of a car.
Your daughter agrees that.
Maybe someone else can answer.
So back of the car, they're fighting, they're yelling, they're pulling the hair. The dad's trying to concentrate on the road. They're in the middle of the nowhere. No.
I would stop the car.
Okay.
Yeah.
You tell your husband. What if the husband was driving? You'd be like, pull over.
Yeah. I would actually.
And then what?
And then ask the questions. What is going on? And I would point out this appears to be a big reaction for a little thing.
Now, which kind of empathy are you doing there?
That's probably the cognitive empathy.
Cognitive.
Yeah.
What would you be thinking if you were in their situation? So you think that's cognitive empathy?
Well, there's some attunement with the feeling, the level of feeling, that this is a hyper reaction. What's being expressed here. This is more than what you would expect from that situation. Usually it's just like, get off me, flick or something like that. But to actually pull
So cognitive is getting in my shoes.
Getting in your shoes.
Do you think I think it's overreaction?
No.
Okay, cognitive empathy. Get in my shoes.
All right.
What would you say to me? Yes.
Yeah. Well, the first thing that I was thinking is just stop the car, like stop and stop. Wait, stop everything.
Okay.
Go down on the car, because take away because.
Keep your so we can everyone hear.
Yeah, because this inside is very difficult to talk because they cannot breathe anyway, and they are just already not breathing probably. So just stop, get out.
Okay.
And
so you'd stop and tell the girls to get out?
Yeah,
Okay.
like stop. Okay, we get out. Okay, so.
Cognitive empathy, get in my shoes.
Yeah, so first what I will do is just to ask what happened to you, like what happened?
Okay.
Why you acting that way? Like what happened? So
and what about that is getting in my shoes?
So because you need to be heard, because you are not you want to express something, and you are expressing something by strength, by the force. You are not so there's something that you want to say, but you are not able to do, so you take the strength, like the force.
Okay.
But
Hold on, I want to give a few other people because we have a lot of people who want to share.
Oh, yes.
And some people haven't shared yet. So I want Purushottam to share next. Purushottam. Purushottam?
I will try, yes, I will try to diffuse them. I'm sorry, I cannot come on camera for some reason. It doesn't work on my Zoom.
Okay, we can't attune, no problem.
I will try to
We can't attune, no problem. I see Malati's camera's coming on, good. Go
Shall
ahead.
I stop it now or continue? Okay.
No, I'm teasing you, I'm just teasing.
Okay. I'm trying to diffuse them and then at least try to promise some gift which they like, something, tantalize them. And this will try to calm them and then slowly talk to the big sister separately and young sister separately and try to, pacify them.
Okay, but we're talking about me. What's your cognitive empathy for me? Forget about my sister. I don't want to hear about her, please. Me.
I would tell her you are a big sister. You have to take care of your little sister. She doesn't understand like you do. So please be, quiet and peaceful to her and loving to her.
Okay, so that's cognitive empathy, affective empathy, no empathy? Which one is it? Let me get a show of hands here. How many people think that what Purushottam said is cognitive empathy? Cognitive empathy, meaning getting in my shoes.
What he said, I didn't hear.
He said, you're the big sister. Be peaceful, be quiet, right? You're the big sister, calm down. You have to kind of show her how to be, kind of thing. You have to model to her. Purushottam, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, how many people think that's cognitive empathy? What about it is cognitive empathy? What? You have to use the mic, 1 minute, use the mic. Krishnadas, can you sit closer to her because it's really distracting hearing you guys talk. Can you use the mic and tell me why this is cognitive empathy?
Yeah, because you think that you understand her, you understand her feelings, but you actually give instructions, so it's just cognitive empathy and you don't really feel her, because if you feel her, you try to help her somehow. Okay,
so cognitive empathy, that's right. If you feel her, you do something different. But if cognitive empathy means you're in my shoes. You feel, if you're in my shoes, would you tell me you're the big sister, pipe down? No. That's not cognitive empathy. That's not effective empathy. That's not empathy. That's you being a bossy parent. I'm sorry to say, Purushottam, that's you being a bossy parent. Cognitive empathy looks something different. Try again. Who thinks that they know? Let's give Malati a chance. She hasn't had a chance to talk yet. Malati, what would you do for cognitive empathy if you were going to get in my shoes as the loving, caring mother with cognitive empathy? What would you say or do?
I would tell you that this is such a long, boring journey, and it's very uncomfortable in the back of the car. So your sister fell asleep because it's such a long journey. And please understand that she didn't do anything wrong to you. She just fell asleep. So try to be nice to her. And then I would also tell that I love both of you. And if you fight with each other, then it hurts me actually.
Oh. Okay, hold on. So what Malati said, how many people think that's cognitive empathy? Yeah, I want someone to argue for that who hasn't spoken yet. Is there anybody, Bhushan, you haven't talked yet. Can you argue for Malati's point of why what she said is cognitive empathy? You can't argue for it. You don't think it's cognitive empathy, Bhushan? Okay, explain why you don't think it's cognitive empathy.
I think if I understand correctly, there's a question about cognitive empathy of the elder sister, which is you. So here, cognitive empathy would be, in my view, is to have an insight as to why such a simple gesture of little sister putting a shoulder triggered you so much. And that the cognitive empathy would be to understand that the older sister is feeling really jealous, she is feeling really irritated, and then using that to then pacify the older sister, essentially acknowledging her feelings and then telling and then comforting her.
Okay, so let's go. I think Malati was on the right track with the first part of what she said, though. She's gotten the closest so far with cognitive with the first part, right? She said, you've had such a long ride, this has been really long and boring ride. That's exactly that. We are going in the right direction for the older sister. But then when you switch gears, Malati, and you said, but let's think about your younger sister and then think about me, that's not cognitive. So
that was also not intended as cognitive. That was just the first part.
Okay,
the second part,
yeah.
I try to have the both, the affective and
Then
the feel.
Yeah. So, but affective would also just be for me, not for the other sister. That's the whole reason why I'm having problems is because my people are empathizing with my other sister. I don't want to hear it, So cognitive is for me, So what you said is right. It's been a long journey and you're bored. And then if you want to keep going with that, then you want to say what she must be thinking. You must be thinking, you guys already wrote it down. So for the cognitive empathy, you would just say, you must be thinking, I hate sitting next to my sister. She's such a bitch, or whatever. Why did I get stuck in the back with her? You're just going to say what she's thinking, not what she's feeling yet. That's the next one. So cognitive is just to, instead of saying, stop it, think about your sister, you're the older one. Like, instead of just doing, parenting, which makes them more angry, because they're not being seen at all. You want to attune to them and say, hold on. I like the idea of like stopping the car, breaking up the fight, but then what you say to her is not something to make her feel ashamed or bad for what she's feeling and what she's doing. It's not okay to hit your sister, that's fine, but we don't want to start off with that. We want to start off with, it's been like exactly what Malati said. As soon as you hear it, you calm down. Yeah, it has been a long, boring car ride. You're right, Yes, she's hearing me. And then saying, I bet you're so angry at your sister that she fell asleep on your shoulder. Or we don't want to say angry yet, that's the emotional, but you hate your sister. And the fact that she fell asleep on your shoulder was just too much, wasn't it? On top of the long, boring car ride. So that's cognitive, just describing what happened for her. Without your judgment, without telling her to stop, without making her feel bad, without trying to make her empathize with her younger sister who she hates right now. Actually, if you do a good job with the cognitive and the affective empathy, she'll naturally empathize for her sister. Once you empathize with her, it will naturally come. Okay? So I'm going to move now to affective empathy, the feeling. So now switch gears. What would you be, the feeling, right? So now we're going to do the compassionate empathy, right? As the loving, caring mother, we did cognitive and now affective. As the loving, caring mother, what would you tell her? How would you tell her or help her with her feelings? Remember, the attunement piece. Yes, Kanta.
So how we will help her with is the question.
So how are you going to attune to her feelings?
Yeah, so me personally, I see the good way to, first to ask her what she's feeling.
Okay.
To make eye contact, ask what she's feeling. For example, when she said, I hate her, it was like she take all my life and now she's sleeping on my shoulders or something like that. So then when you're in contact with her, you say, yes, I understand you. Of course, this is very reasonable that you can feel hatred to her if she fall asleep in your shoulder.
Good.
Around
very good.
All of this situation. I understand you and what you think, what you want right now, what you think and what you want right now. For example, she can still have emotions or something, and I don't want to sit with her, or something like this. So, I mean, to accept her, all of this is important to accept, and then, I mean, if there is other sister, maybe I make a contact that they talk or something, like to ask her or to make them in contact, like if you.
Affective empathy, so stop.
Yeah.
You're going too far. So affective empathy is just honoring her feelings. We're not talking about the other sister.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah,
We're not, so for the feelings, what you're saying you'd do is you would acknowledge what the feelings are and you would make her feel validated by them, not ashamed, right? And then you'd ask her what she wants to do about that. Good. You're putting her in a position of power. That's good. Okay? Anyone else?
Bhadraji?
Okay.
Yes, I would stop the car and then...
We're talking about just the feeling, just the feeling. I just want to hear the feeling,
Yeah, because I think that for the feeling, it's very important also to actions, not only words.
The action comes next. The action comes next. I just want you to honor her feelings. Remember?
Yeah,
compassionate empathy is what you do.
Feelings is embrace her, embrace you very, very hard, and then say, sweetie, I can see and feel your anger. It seems that it was painful for you to see that when your sister was burned, you felt that you thought you lost my love, but that's not the case. I love you very much, and we are together in the street. Just enjoy it, or something like that, I would say.
Okay. So you would give her a hug to show that you love her, make her feel like significant, important, cared for, right?
Yes.
And then you would tell her and you would name kind of her feelings, right? Okay, good. Okay, so now, does anybody want to add anything else you would do? This compassion, empathy that you would do. In other words, by honoring first what she thought, then what she felt, and then what would you do? Anyone who hasn't shared something, someone new who hasn't shared? What's your name?
Peter.
Peter. Can you give Peter the mic, please?
So, okay, I would point out, without accusing in any way, that falling of the sister on my shoulder is a trust sign and a sign of love of my sister. So obviously there is love between the sisters. So again, without accusing her in any way, she should kind of appreciate for what it is. Maybe it's more in her head than in actual real life.
Okay.
The rivalry.
So this is compassionate empathy?
I think so, because it's, very feeling-based. You don't want to reject love, otherwise you might fall into the same trap that you feel that the sister steals the love away from your father.
So it's your feeling-based or her feelings-based? Compassionate empathy is your feelings or hers?
Her feeling.
That's how she's feeling, what you just said? Or that's how you want her to feel?
That's what I would like her to feel.
Right, so that's not compassionate empathy. That's called lack of empathy. And that's how most of us get into problems in relations. Because we tell people how we want them to feel, not how they feel, right? That's why it's so frustrating. When you hit heads with somebody, you're telling them how they should feel, how they should be, what they shouldn't do. So compassionate empathy is the opposite of that. Opposite. Does anybody want to take a stab at compassionate empathy, what you would do? Okay, hold on.
I want to make a question.
We're not on questions now. We're on compassionate empathy. Does anybody else have compassionate empathy? Bhushan. Sorry, Vilas.
I would tell her that I feel so sorry that you see that you're so unfairly treated by your father, and I'm genuinely sorry for that. I think that I would give her a hug and tell her that I'll make sure that this doesn't happen again. That both of you feel equally loved.
You're talking very softly, so I can barely hear you.
Yeah, so I will acknowledge why she's upset. That because I see that you feel so upset because you feel so unfairly treated. I'm so sorry that you feel like I can see why you're so sad. I can see why you're so angry. And I would also feel the same anger if I was in your position that the father is not paying attention to me. But it's actually so it is. I will talk to father, and I will make sure that both of you experience same amount of love from our mothers.
Good, Bhushan. Very good job. Do you see the difference, Peter? Can you see the difference? It's like the opposite. In a way, you feel like I'm spoiling this kid. This kid is going to turn out to be a spoiled brat if I just validate all their feelings and let them bully their sister. So what you did, Bhushan, is perfect, but it's not the end of the story. What you're saying, Peter, is good and correct, but we want to tell them later on, once they feel seen. Once they hear that from Bhushan and they're like, oh, okay, my mom and dad love me and they're going to try to, hear me. Then later on, when it's all happy, then you say, you know what? Your sister's actually, loves you. And that was that's a loving thing. So it's not wrong what you said, it's just the timing of it, So the compassionate empathy piece is what Bhushan just did. Then after we educate, it's not okay to pull your sister's hair, once she feels like she can even hear you. But when you're angry, can you hear what someone else is telling you? And no. Okay, so it's the timing of it. Okay.
Is Dr. Jani?
Okay, Dr. Jani, what do you got? Compassionate empathy, let's hear it.
Yeah, so first of all, mothers would validate your anger and your irrational behavior. And generally, mother would...
Irrational? Excuse me. Is that empathetic? Irrational behavior?
No.
Excuse me. Yes, start again. My anger and my what kind of behavior?
Your anger is validate. She has to validate and then take over. So your father should be with you and she should be driving. Your other sister would be separated driving into passenger seat. She will drive. Your father, who you are missing, should come in the back and try to.
Very sweet.
So
that's very sweet. You can tell he's got a big heart.
My mother will do.
Very sweet. Good job, Ajay. Thank you very much. That's perfect, right? You can. I mean, I would love that if my mom did that. That would be like so sweet. Very nice. Thank you. Okay, I think we're out of time today, you guys. You guys did a great job. I hope you enjoyed the discussion and you could actually learn something, in a practical application. What I did was I made a few more slides with the same questions for your homework. Okay, so I'm going to send you this as a PDF and you can see there's the next page of the story, the same questions. So you can practice. There's the next page of the story, same questions. Okay, so that's your homework, to go through a few more pages. And then next week we're going to come back and talk about it. I want to hear, bring your homework this time, especially for those of you who didn't have anything to write with, you know what I mean? Write it down and bring it to the next class and we'll discuss, because this is so important. You can see how we all have different ideas of what this stuff is, and the more we practice it with a story, the better we can get at it. All right? So thank you guys all for coming, and I hope you have a good week. Haribo. Haribo, thank you.